everybody. Before I begin, I would like to offer a slight disclaimer. This topic is a little bit sensitive in nature because I will be addressing a social issue. It's not my intention to offend anyone or portray any group in a negative manner. I would simply like to call attention to a problem faced by such a large part of our population. So, a quick show of hands, how many of you have never dealt with an insecurity in your life? That's pretty rare, isn't it? And it can be hard to contend with, to face the parts of you that make you feel less attractive, less intelligent, less competent. Well, growing up, I had a lot of difficulty in accepting myself. I was told both explicitly and more subtly that dark skin was unattractive. Relatives and friends would provide me with skin bleaching creams, tell me to stay out of the sun, and just give me any multitude of home remedies to correct the brownness of my skin. When it was time to go out or take pictures, I would be offered foundations and powders that didn't match my skin tone in an attempt to mask my darkness. It's important to note, very important to note, that none of these people were trying to hurt me. These were all people, family members, who cared about me and loved me so much, they were trying to look out for my best interests. Yet because of these pressures, my own face never fit my idea of what it is to be beautiful. And this affected my self-perception growing up. I felt like my color was a flaw, and it was limiting me in my life. Not only was it limiting me, it was defining me. I fell victim to colorism. Now, what exactly is colorism? This is a relatively new social issue. It's a term that was coined in the 1980s to describe discrimination based on skin tone. This is different from racism, as colorism occurs even within racial groupings. People with darker skin are seen as less prestigious, and this attribution extends beyond simply what is considered attractive by a society and reaches as far as diminishing a person's character or potential purely on the basis of his or her skin tone. This is an issue that we see on an international scale. We saw it in Africa during slave trade, where people with darker skin were ascribed a lower monetary value than people who had lighter skin. It was seen when people with darker skin were required to carry identity documents in an attempt to decrease the mobility of the lower classes. In the modern day, skin tone is still a large determinant in social class. We saw it in India, thanks to the caste system, where people of higher castes generally had lighter skin tones than the people with lower castes who were toiling outdoors. Even today, in matrimony sites, before they ask about a girl's education, background, or economic status, they request a bride with fair skin. Throughout Asia, we see this in our mythologies and our fairy tales. The good guys, the heroes, the princes, the princesses, they all have beautiful fair skin. But the bad guys, the villains, they're often portrayed as having dark skin. Now we come to the United States. You'd think that a country where people come from all walks of life, every race, every religion, every culture is represented, yet we still fall victim to colorism. A 2015 study by Marcus Rangel and Daniel Kreisman showed that darker-skinned Black Americans fared worse in key metrics than their lighter-skinned counterparts. These measures included marriage, self-confidence rates, jail time, and pay. These metrics determine quality of life, and our darker-skinned members were faring significantly worse. It was seen again with the implementation of this brown paper bag test. The brown paper bag test used to be used to determine entrance into social organizations. You hold a brown paper bag up against an aspiring member's face, and if their skin is lighter than this bag, they were allowed entry into the organization. If it was darker, they were denied on the basis of being too dark. I failed this test. We see it again in the casting controversy for the movie Straight Outta Compton. Great movie. I enjoyed watching it. But I read about this in the news, and it was so disheartening. They had 4 classes of girls, from A to D, in order of decreasing attractiveness. The A girls were described as the fine girls. They had nice bodies, and they were specified to have light skin. But when you look at the description of the D girl, they were poor, out of shape, and said to have a medium to dark skin tone. So as you guys can see, this has a global scale, and it impacts children and adults. I'm one of millions who've experienced this. I personally never felt comfortable in my own skin. I grew up feeling like my accomplishments were making up for my darkness, and that I would have to achieve more for people to give me any consideration. I had this inherent setback of my undesirable skin tone that I would have to overcome to be worth anything. It's a shame that something so natural that I had no control over would make me feel deficient. More than making me feel less attractive, it made me feel less powerful, less competent. I felt like my voice would mean less when people saw that it came from a girl with darker skin. Learning to find beauty in my own face is a struggle that beat me down for many years. It wasn't until college, when I came to an incredibly diverse campus at UT Austin, that I was able to overcome this. I was surrounded by so many incredibly beautiful people with such heterogeneous characteristics. There was so much diversity, and all of these people were so phenomenally successful. How could I let my skin tone hold me back in the midst of this? Moreover, I was given countless opportunities to further myself. And for the first time, I felt like I was achieving because of my skill rather than despite my skin. When I look into the mirror, I see a thriving young woman. And my skin color neither adds to this nor detracts from this. There's so much empowerment in finding beauty within yourself. Colorism caused me to view myself in a negative light for most of my life. Beauty is a subjective experience. It's not restricted to a particular color or shape. It's rooted in how something makes you feel. The color of my skin is a part of who I am as much as any other factor, and I've grown to not only accept, but to love it. Colorism has affected me as well as many of those around me. Image is an even more visible aspect of our lives. We see this every time a darker-skinned celebrity is photoshopped into a more acceptable caramel tone, or any brand advertises a product that'll make you lighter and, by extension, better. Young men and women are subjected to colorism every day as these are perpetuated. We can stand together and hold the media, these industries, and society as a whole accountable for placing this undue premium on lighter skin tones. Colorism caused me to feel fundamentally bad about myself for many years. I want to challenge and fight the notion that beauty is constrained to certain physical features. You should never think that you have to change to be beautiful. I hope that sharing my experience can help others step forward to do the same, because the first step in alleviating the issue is to raise awareness for its existence. When we stand up against colorism, when we say no more and halt the perpetuation of this damaging notion, when we say, yes, you are beautiful, not despite your dark skin, but simply because you are beautiful, we evolve as a society to a more accepting, to a more understanding, and to a more equal world. Thank you so much.
That was powerful. You're fantastic. You're amazing. You did a fantastic job.